Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Sadasri His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Sadasri His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 12, titled Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creation, and we are currently in verse number 39. ko nu me atitharenmayam Viṣaktāstvad rite puman Tamstan visrijatim bhavam Dustaram akritatmabhihi Ko nu me atitharenmayam Viṣaktāstvad rite puman Tamstan visrajatim bhavan Dustaram akritatmabhihi Ko nu me atitharenmayam Viṣaktāstvad rite puman Tamstan visrijatim bhavam Dustaram akritatmabhihi Ko nu me atitharenmayam Viṣaktāstvad rite puman Tamstan visrijatim bhavan Dustarantan akritatmabhihi Ko nu me atitharenmayam Viṣaktāstvad rite puman Tamstan visrijatim bhavan Dustaram akritatmabhihi Anyone else? Ko nu me atitharenmayam Viṣaktāstvad rite puman Tamstan visrijatim bhavan Dustaram akritatmabhihi Ko nu me atitharenmayam Viṣaktāstvad rite puman Tamstan visrijatim bhavan Dustaram akritatmabhihi Anyone else? Is there anyone online? Would you like to recite the verse?
Ko nu me atitharenmayam
Ko nu me atitharenmayam
Viṣaktāstvad rite puman
Viṣaktāstvad rite puman
Tamstan visrijatim bhavan
Tamstan visrijatim bhavan
Dustaram akritatmabhihi
Dustaram akritatmabhihi Okay, we'll move on to the word meanings. Kaha, what? Nu, indeed. Me, my. Ati, tharet, can surpass. Mayam, illusionary energy. Viṣaktaha, attached to the material sense enjoyment. Tvat rite, except for you. Human, person. Tan, such conditionings. Tan, onto the materially attached persons. Visrijatim, in surpassing. Bhavan, reactions of material activities. Dustaram, very difficult to surmount. Akrita Atma Bihi, by persons unable to control their senses. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Lord Shambhu, who within this material world but you can surpass my illusory energy? People are generally attached to sense enjoyment and conquered by its influence. Indeed, the influence of material nature is very difficult for them to surmount. Purport. Of the three chief demigods, Brahma, Viṣṇu and Maheshwara, all but Viṣṇu are under the influence of Māyā. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, they are described as Māyī, which means under Māyā's influence. But even though Lord Siva associates with Māyā, he is not influenced. The living entities are affected by Māyā. But although Lord Siva apparently associates with Māyā, he is not affected. In other words, all living entities within this material world, except for Lord Siva, are swayed by Māyā. Lord Siva is therefore neither Viṣṇu Tattva or Jiva Tattva. He is in between the two. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this pastime of Mohini Murti, who has bewildered Lord Siva, we have seen that Lord Siva had this desire to see this form of Mohini Murti, and Srila Prabhupada has very nicely described this pastime, and he also taught us many interesting teachings from which we can progress in our spiritual journey, right? So he shows that how when he's by this pastime, he is showing how Lord Siva himself was bewildered by this Mohini Murti, and how we as sadhakas have to be very, very careful while dealing with this material energy. Right? So even Lord Siva got swayed, then what can be our condition? Right? But Krishna anyways protects, if we are sincere, Lord Krishna protects. So he says in a verse in Bhagavad Gita, Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya dhuratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam dharanti te. The divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes, is difficult to overcome, but those who are surrendered to me can easily cross beyond it. Right? So, Prabhupada explains throughout his purports, both in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, how this Maya or this illusion is a tendency to see things separate from Krishna, right? And therefore we see it separately from Krishna, although it is inherently part of Lord Sri Krishna, right? And we have this tendency to enjoy separately this material energy, and therefore our illusion of this world deepens even further, right? Moving ahead, here Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he describes about Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a very unique personality. He is neither Viṣṇu Tattva or he is Jiva Tattva. He is in between. Right? So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto 2, while describing the creation, in the purports, Sukadeva Goswami explains how you have this, you have Karanodakshai Viṣṇu, who is also known as Mahavishnu. He, through his pores, you have this different universes created and being destroyed, right? And then the sum total of all of this energy, which is material, which is called as Mahat Tattva, and this Mahat Tattva gets energized or activated by the glance of Mahavishnu, and this glance is described to be the Shiva Tattva. So Shiva Tattva is a very intriguing aspect of the Lord, right? And you find that people are not able to grapple with this concept of this Shiva Tattva. In India, we generally find in the past where people have fought great wars to out of their false ego. Different groups of people they fought wars in order to just support their argument that Lord Shiva is greater or Lord Viṣṇu is greater. It's so foolish that instead of accepting that it is quite complicated to understand, right? It is better if you appreciate each other in pursuing your path and to encourage each other, because this concept, because most of the living entities are at the very gross level, right? We hardly are struggling to control our senses and the mind, right? Forget about understanding about the higher aspects of this absolute truth, such as understanding who is Lord Shiva and understanding who is Lord Viṣṇu, right? It's such an elevated realization to understand about these personalities, right? So instead, we should be humble about our own positions and start working at our platform and see if we can engage ourselves in some service instead of fighting over this matter. Right. I guess I should also read the next translation in purport, right? Okay. Translation of text 40. The material external energy, Māyā, who cooperates with me in creation and who is manifested in the three modes of nature, will not be able to bewilder you any longer. Purport. When Lord Shiva was present, his wife Durga was also there. Durga works in cooperation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in creating the cosmic manifestation. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Māyā jakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. The material energy, Prakriti, works under my direction, O son of Kunti, and is producing all moving and unmoving beings. Prakriti is Durga. Srishti sthiti pralaya sadhana sakti reka chayeva yasya bhuvanani bhibarti Durga. The entire cosmos is created by Durga in cooperation with Lord Viṣṇu in the form of Kala, time. Sa ikshata lokan nu srija. Sa imal lokan asrijata. This is the version of the Vedas. Aitareya Upanishad 1.1.2, 1.1.1 and 2. Māyā happens to be the wife of Lord Siva, and thus Lord Siva is in association with Māyā. But Lord Viṣṇu here assures Lord Siva that this Māyā will no longer be able to captivate him. So Lord Viṣṇu is continuing speaking to Lord Siva, describing how that although Lord Siva is closely engaging with Māyā, he is not affected by it. We see that another story we have from Ramayana is that Lord Siva comes in the form of Hanumanji, right? So it is described even there in this Sundara Kanda how when Hanumanji is now given charge of a small army of monkeys, and he is exploring in the southern direction to find out if Sita Mata can be found, right? So he travels to this end of India or Bharat, and over there they all come to conclusion that no one will be able to cross the ocean. And then Hanumanji is reminded by Jambavan that Hanuman has great powers, and he is the only one who can jump across the ocean and come back. And so Hanumanji, he remembers this, and then he quickly recognizes that he has all of these energies and special powers with him, and so he expands himself and basically he overcomes so many obstacles on the path. So all of this beautiful narration is described in the Sundara Kanda, and it is quite an adventurous journey of Hanumanji. He comes across many demons on the way, right, in the ocean, and then after he lands in Sri Lanka, even there he comes across a demon, and through his constant meditation on how to serve the Lord, right, he overcomes all of these obstacles, right? And interestingly enough, even in Sri Lanka, Hanumanji, he is now eagerly searching out if Mother Sita is there. Specifically, he also ventures into the palace of Ravana. So over there, he had to closely observe all of the ladies of Ravana. See, it is actually mentioned in the Ramayana that Ravana had thousands of wives, right? And one can understand how by that this lust, right, is such a dangerous enemy that it doesn't get satisfied at all. See, Ravana had so many wives, and still he was still lusting even after Sita Mata. So from this we need to understand that we should not come under influence of Māyā and get driven away by lust. And over here, Hanumanji also has some doubts. Oh, he's observing all of these ladies so closely, coming in close proximity to them. And he has doubt, whether he's doing the right thing or not, right? But then after some analysis, he again reconciles himself by saying that he's doing all of this only for the service of Lord Rama. So we see that even in here, Lord Shiva, right, who comes in the form of Hanumanji, even there he was closely dealing with the female energy, and still he was not bewildered, right? And then he eventually, as we all know, he was able to identify the location of Sita and then convey the message to Sita Mata, and then he was successfully able to return back and provide this information to Lord Rama. All right. So all the devotees are very much enthused, and they get a lot of inspiration from Lord Shiva in the form of Hanumanji, because that inspires all of the devotees to also tirelessly do seva to the Lord and his devotees. Yeah, that is all I have from my side. If there are any comments, corrections, or questions, please.
I was wondering if you could explain further about Hanuman, Hanuman expansion of Shiva. I always thought he's like Pavan Putra Hanuman and all that.
Yes, so it seems it's actually mentioned in the Shiva Purana that Hanuman is an expansion of Lord Shiva. But there have also been some from Valmiki's Ramayana. I'm not sure if it specifically mentions this point, but from Ramayana we know that he was the son of the wind god, Vayu. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting, because when we think of, like, we talk about Madhvacharya and or just, yeah, that's interesting. Hanuman being, where did you mentioned, where did you say again? That's
Shiva Purana.
Shiva Purana. So the Hanuman is an expansion of Shiva. And so like, I don't want to say merely, it sounds kind of like disrespectful, merely, but like that's entirely who Hanuman is? Or it's like, because there are some descriptions of like certain like souls being combined in different personalities. So is it a combination of Shiva, or it's just like, not just, but Hanuman just Shiva? Is that the idea?
I don't know.
Sorry, okay. Just, the other thing, and I don't know if there's any, it just, in the first purport to 39, it just seems to be like a clear contradiction, almost like just like so direct. I'm not sure how we would, and like Srila Prabhupada's like acknowledging it almost seems, but just says that of the three chief demigods, all but Viṣṇu are under the influence of Māyā. Sounds kind of funny. Of the three, all but one. So the two. So that's one funny way of saying it. Of all the chief, of all the three, all but one, all but Viṣṇu. So that means Brahma and Shiva are under the influence of Māyā. And then, so he says that, and then he refers to Chaitanya Charitamrita, that to substantiate that. Chaitanya Charitamrita says that both Brahma and Shiva are described as Māyī, which means under Māyā's influence. But then immediately after, Srila Prabhupada says, but no, Shiva associates with Māyā, but is not influenced, and then repeats it. he apparently associates with Māyā, but he's not affected, not influenced. And then goes on, to conclude again that everyone but Śiva is swayed by Māyā. So first we say everyone, So I don't know. I'm just commenting on that. Maybe there's nothing we can say about it, but just one of those things. Okay. One more thing. This is actually a question. You mentioned about historically wars being fought, because some people thought Shiva supreme, some thought that Viṣṇu was supreme. Now, maybe I'm really ignorant. I wasn't aware that wars were fought over this. I know that wars have been fought between Muslims and Hindus and so on, and people have been killed. But people being killed and wars being fought, and over Shiva supremacy versus Viṣṇu supremacy, I'm not aware of. Is that where? What would you say? When have wars been fought and people been killed because Shiva's over just the debate of Shiva versus Viṣṇu? Because maybe I'm just totally ignorant, but what are these wars specifically and when?
So, as far as I remember, these wars especially happened in the region of Tamil Nadu. So there, Tamil Nadu has many small kingdoms, at least 300 years ago or 400 years ago. So generally kings at those times, especially kings were either disciples or they were having some teachers who were guiding them either in Vaishnavism or in Shaivism. And regularly, there used to be debates among scholars arguing that Shiva is supreme or Viṣṇu is supreme. And there have been instances also where, the armies also fought with each other.
I see. Mostly we read about just, the philosophical debates, like you're saying, the debates and how there'll be camps and they'll be warring verbally and politically perhaps, or at least, in their religious circles they're warring, but actual war where they're, physically fighting because of, I can't think of any place of reading about that, at least in Prabhupada's book, so that's why that was news
so,
to me. But definitely you're saying
this also happened
physical
during,
fighting on a grand scale, war. Just over this.
Especially even during Sri Ramanujacharya's time, specifically, there was a king who threatened Ramanujacharya and his followers to give up Vaishnavism and take up Shaivism. And obviously, Ramanujacharya declined. And so they have in fact brought... They tried to bring in Ramanujacharya along with his senior disciple to the opposition's court, and so there, in fact, Ramanujacharya, he understands, and he and his disciples understands that this king actually wants to kill them, because he knows that this, Ramanujacharya is very, very powerful, and he's, he will not be swayed. So he was even ready to kill him. So then Ramanujacharya's disciple understands this, and he could see that this could unfold, and he himself dresses as Ramanujacharya, and he travels to that place, and there he defeats the scholars and the king actually plucks out his eyes.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you see a small scale with the Smarta Brahmanas and so on, with with Vaishnavas, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then them wanting to him to be killed, or trying to but it's kind of a small scale, kind of covert, not really out in the open, and not on any grand scale like a war, but you definitely can see that. But generally, when when devotees and non Vaishnavas talk about Hinduism, they'll talk about how in Hinduism, there's this acceptance. There's never wars about differing opinions. It's unlike other religions. Some may think Shiva supreme, some may think Viṣṇu supreme, and we just have a difference of opinion. We get along, we may debate, but we don't kill over it. But you're saying that in Tamil Nadu and so on, there definitely was some killing over it, and aside from just the small scale stuff that happens. That's just interesting.
Hare Krishna. So you mentioned how Ravan had thousands of queens, wives, but in the 6th canto we hear that King Chitraketu has 10 million wives. You know, and so like who's more lusty, you know, King Chitraketu or Ravana?
So my understanding is that Chitraketu Maharaj had a purpose in mind also. He wanted to have a son, right? And according to dharma, that is accepted for a Kshatriya, right? Because it is his, at those times it was his duty to carry on the lineage and continue the service of protecting the people, right? But whereas Ravana, he was, the Ramayana explains that Ravana was basically kidnapping, capturing, innocent women, and he was marrying forcefully also. Yeah. So there's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, that's a nice point. It's not exactly the number of wives that Ravana had that shows how lusty he was, because many people married many wives and they took care of them nicely, and it was like a matter of duty for them and so on. And but really the problem with Ravana was that, or the point is that why that's relevant with Ravana's lust is that he had so many wives, and yet he sees someone else's wife and he has some lusty desire, and rather than thinking, well, I have my own wives and so on, he thinks, no, I'm gonna take this woman, I want to enjoy with this woman, even against her will, and even though she's already married, and so on. So it wasn't just that he has so many wives, but that he had so many wives, and still he couldn't restrain himself when he was attracted to a woman.
Okay.
Hey, yesterday Chamuna Jivan was asking the question, do we have to live out our desires, to fulfill all of our desires, or can we just get rid of them, without trying to fulfill them? And when we talk about fulfilling all of our desires, I mean, of course, as living entities, we through our association, we keep on developing new and new desires, like every day, every week, every month. There's all types of desires flowing in. So, in a sense, they're like endless. And there's, in a sense, like endless. It's all in the realm of the material world. It's all in the realm of the material world and material sense gratification. But in a sense, it's endless to us, to our minds. So if we talk about the principle of reincarnation, someone would say, oh, well, I have so many desires to fulfill, and this desires for sense gratification, and I just have to just keep on trying to fulfill them. But it's like, what about reincarnation? I mean, You've tried to fulfill your desires for lifetimes, and now you're trying to fulfill your desires in this lifetime. And with the amount of people's material desires, I mean, one life is not enough, really. Like how many desires you're going to fulfill in one life, and then they just keep on coming. So this is just a comment in relation to lust, or the question yesterday, and Ravana and his unfulfilled desires. It's just never ending. So that's why the Vaishnavas say, okay, to a degree you may try to fulfill your material desires in a religious way, if you have to. But this idea of trying to fulfill your desires, all of your desires, and just like, we don't really accept that. There is some truth. Okay, you try to fulfill desires, and you get kicked in the head, if you want to put it that way, by material energy a number of times. You suffer. There is something to it that, okay, that might help you become detached, but ultimately we don't really accept this idea. And we accept the idea that we want to transcend our desires or clear our material desires from our heart by loving Krishna, by learning how to love and be attached to Krishna, satisfied in that way. So let's just come.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.